And I think it's because of that he was chosen, because he seems to be a person of dialogue, and we always look, it's the same with Charles Michel of Belgium to become the president of the council. This is a country that is also difficult to manage. Belgium, you have to compromise on everything and have a big dialogue between different regions and people and languages and things like that. So we always look to people with this capacity to bring dialogue. And then we have the European Central Bank, and what you have an economic monetary union. Okay, you can. Let's go to protocol, because that's what is important now. All European Union institutions have their own protocol service. Established more than 50 years ago, they make up an ensemble which contributes to the work, prestige and image of the European Union in the world, because of they are strict and efficient. What happens, in fact, it's here again. There is a distinction between the protocol followed by the 28 member states and the protocol followed by us in the European Union institutions. But if you look well, the different ones, more than 85–90% are the same. The rules are the same everywhere. And in fact, like in other instances, other bodies of the European Union, the heads of protocol of the European institutions in Brussels meet regularly with the heads of protocols of the 28 member states. So we coordinate the way in which we do things. So each one knows what we're doing, and there are no cold showers, as I called before. People don't get surprised with something like this. And the largest protocol service are the ones of the European Parliament, Council, Commission, and the External Action Service. Still, they are rather small service with an average of not more than 25 officials. And this is something that a lot of people outside the European Union keep on telling me, but in the Commission, you used to work in the Commission, you are less than 25 people, how can you deal? Because it's true. If you go to the European Commission building here, every day a head of state or government is there on an official visit, working visit, trying to do things. So you have all these high-level people coming every day to the Commission, and how do you manage to work with only 25 people? We have to do it, This was the agreement from the beginning. We would try to work, to be efficient, practical, and work with a small staff. We cannot, when we have so many problems in the European Union, when you have so many matters to deal with, agriculture, foreign policy and everything, we draw a lot of stuff for the protocol service. So we try to work to be efficient, but to be practical. Don't go into different complicated things. This has forced the EU institutions to coordinate between themselves and to work in a simple fashion. So here in Brussels also the protocol services meet regularly, and they coordinate and they help each other, because it's the only way for things to go. The EU protocol has been influenced by the protocol traditions of the member countries, but it's not copied, as I said. EU protocol is based on international protocol practices, where a country protocol is based on their national procedures. EU protocol is much simpler than national protocols. It starts by the fact that we are not a country. We are, as I said, a type of confederation. We are not a country. We don't receive state visits, maximum official visits. So there, to start, it's much simpler. EU protocol services are required to work with in a multicultural environment with officials from 28 nationalities, which is not always simple, with their own traditions and backgrounds, and with 24 different official languages, which is also not easy. So we try to be simple because of that also, you know. People have different ideas, different traditions. We have to try to keep them, you know, coming back to reality many times. The protocol service of the EU deal mainly with diplomatic relations, it's true, because we have what we call delegations, our diplomatic missions in 170 countries, and the majority of these 170 countries also have their diplomatic missions to the European Union, so we have to deal with that. Diplomatic relations, the accreditation and acceptance and accreditation of ambassadors and things like that. Visits, a lot of visits, precedents, rules, treaties and other agreements, international conferences and seminar. They are every month, international conferences and seminar taking place in Brussels. Intra-EU high-level meetings, summits with third countries, ceremonies, symbols, flags. Okay, it's a lot of work, but it's good. The legal basis for EU protocol are to be found in the Vienna Convention of 1961, like everything else, and also on this Lisbon Treaty that we have mentioned before, on the diplomatic and in the protocol and privileges and immunities of the European Union, Articles 11 and 17. The EU has legal personality and the right to establish diplomatic relations with active and passive right of delegation, which is very important. The Treaty of Lisbon, I've already mentioned that, brought changes to protocol. This is not important. Now, high-level visits. As I said, practically every day we receive high-level visits in Brussels. One day I was in an event here in Brussels and I met the head of the police force of Brussels, of the mobile, the ones that comes with motors and cars. So you have a lot of work, what do you do? And he says, well, I do nothing other than going to the airport to collect heads of state and government to come to the commission and take them back to the airport. That's my job. I don't have time for anything else. And this is our reality. We have people, high-level people, coming to Brussels every day. So we have to deal with it. This is when the Vice President of the United States was some months ago in Brussels. So we have official visits, not state visits, working visits or courtesy calls. A lot of people also come to Brussels for other matters. It's not the first time prime ministers are in Brussels to have meetings with the Belgian government, or are in Brussels to have meetings in NATO, and they ask if they can pay a courtesy call on the President of the Commission, President of the Council and everything. So we have a lot of courtesy calls, as in the case of foreign dignitaries passing through Brussels and requesting a meeting with EU personalities. The President of the Commission is the President of the European Parliament, and is the one that normally is in the forefront of all protocol matters. In fact, the protocol of the European Parliament depends on the President. He's the one that is the boss there, and he's the one who receives visits and organizes things, presides over the meetings. He only normally goes down, as we call it, when the head of state and government comes. Ministers and things like that, he asks vice presidents to receive people. And of course, there is a principle. If a head of state and government come to Brussels, they are received by our presidents, presidents of the Parliament, president of the Council, president of the Commission. But if they are other ministers, normally they are met by commissioners. Commissioners have the rank of ministers, so we try to balance things in this way. Yes.
As Belgium, like as a hosting country,
Yes.
if it's like, let's say, a head of state visit,
Yes.
does to the EU, whether it's one of its institutions,
Yes.
is supposed like the Belgian government involved in the reception?
Yes. 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 We involve them all the time because it's not nice, you know, for the Prime Minister or the government to know the President of Russia was today in Brussels to visit the President of the Commission. No, nothing, you know. We avoid, coming back to the cold showers, we avoid cold showers. So when we receive a request for somebody high level, a president or prime minister, to come to visit the European Union institution because they have matters to deal with us, we immediately inform the Belgian authorities, and our protocol sits with the protocol, and we decide who's going to do what. For example, this story of the police is like that, you know, and then it is for the Belgian authorities to tell the police what they have to do in this case. So we avoid, you know, creating problems to ourselves and to the others by involving always the Belgian authorities on these things. And of course, in the European Parliament, protocol servers support the work of the President and Vice Presidents, as the visits of European Parliament members to other institutions and third countries. Everything is normally more and more organized by protocol. In fact, there was a head of the protocol of the European Parliament that was our lecturer here, and he retired. He used to say that I asked him one day to define for us what is the head of protocol of the European Parliament. And he said, I am a manager of events, because that's what I do. He says, you know, there are always events in the Parliament, is this and that. For example, a visit of Pope to the European Parliament and things like that. So he says, I'm always organizing events. Heads of state are invited to take the floor at European Parliament plenary sessions in Strasbourg. No debate, but often press conference take place. And the European Parliament protocol organizes visits, foresees welcome at airport, escort and security on hospitality, lunch with several invitees, including presidents of other institutions and things like that. The same thing that happens here in Brussels happens in Strasbourg. For example, when the Pope and other presidents, the President of Portugal, my country, was also recently in Strasbourg, what happens there is that the European Parliament protocol works with the protocol of the French state, so that when these people arrive, they are escorted and accompanied also by the protocol of the French state. And the President of the European Parliament welcomes at the entrance of the European Parliament building all heads of state and prime ministers, officially visiting the institution, and accompanies them to plenary or to his office if they're official meeting. You see the photo before was the Pope. This one is the President of Austria. That, you know, the presidents of the European Union countries are often invited to address the European Parliament to give their views of what they think about the future of Europe and things like that. In terms of European Parliament precedence is the following. President, okay, you can read this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. According to official statistics, around 10 heads of state make per year solemn addresses to the European Parliament. There are around 70 official visits of heads of state and government. There are more than 1,200 official ministerial visits, and more than 80 meals they have to be organized, so it's quite a lot. In what relates to the Council, its protocol service support the Presidency, assist in the organization of high-level visits, meetings, and work jointly with the Commission and the External Foreign Service in the presentation of credentials by foreign ambassadors. Here I still have photos only because Mr. Charles Michel has not taken office of, for example, here is the lady that is the ambassador of Serbia presenting credentials to President Donald Tusk. Yeah, this is the President in the Council, President, etc., etc. You can go through this yourself, because what I'm interested, it's protocol. Okay. Now, that's what I was looking for, because this is the most important part of it. It's the order of precedence in the European Union. Because a lot of people think that since we have today a president of the European Council that is called Mr. Europe, he represents the European Union, is the top boss in the European Union, if you allow me this expression, that he is the first one. Because in countries, as you've seen with that precedence list I gave you before of Trinidad and Tobago, with countries normally the president of the country is always the first. But in the European Union we decided to do it differently. So the personality that comes first is the President of the European Parliament. Because according to the treaties, these are the way the institutions are listed. And this list is used to place also the presidents of the different institutions. So we start with the European Parliament, European Council, Council of the Union, European Commission, European Court of Justice, etc., etc. So if there is a meeting here in Brussels, first comes the President of the European Parliament, then second comes the President of the European Council, and then the President of the Commission, etc., etc. This is the way it is. So it is the President of the order of precedence of the key EU entities is the following: President of the European Parliament, President of the Council, President of the Commission, President, and this is the list. Okay? And as I said, outside the European Union, this is confusing. I remember when I was still in Rome, the three presidents of the main institutions in Brussels, Commission, Council and Parliament, went to invite the Pope to come to Brussels. So there were the three of them there. And when I met with the head of protocol of the Vatican to organize the visit, and he said, yeah, I've been looking at your president's list. First is the President of the Parliament. I'm surprised. So outside the European Union, the people are a bit surprised. But this is due to the fact that they want to stress that this is a very democratic, association of states, and the most democratic of them all take the first place. And then come the other ones. I'm not going. So you know now, the protocol order of member states, and here it's the difficult part. The protocol order of the member states, I told you that in the United Nations, they used alphabetical order in English. NATO also uses alphabetical order in English. We use a different alphabetical order. We also place our member states when they come to meetings here and the flags of their countries in alphabetical order, like the United Nations does. The difference is that the precedence order is based on the Roman alphabetical order of their geographical names in their original languages. Oh. It's a confusing thing, It's a very confusing thing. I'm passing you around this list that you had already this morning by mistake, and now it's important. This is the order in which the alphabetical order in which we have the countries. And what this means is that if, for example, Spain, it's called España, so it starts with E. Spain is called España. It starts with E. It's an E for them. Greece is called in their own country, their own words, Hellas, and it starts with E as well. So Greece, it's not a G for us, it's E. And for example,
Finland S.
Sorry?
Finland also S.
Finland is Suomi, with an S. The Hungary is the Magyar Republic, it's M. So I always, when I worked there, had to keep this list in my pocket.
So it's finishing here.
How many more do you need?
3.
And okay, so everybody has one. No, okay. So this paper is very useful because it was published officially on our official journal. Thank you. And it sets up which is the order. And because I don't know Greek, I don't know Finnish, I don't know Bulgarian. Bulgarian, even like Greece, has a different alphabet. So to know exactly which is the order of countries, I have to have this list in my pocket all the time. I used to have it in my pocket. And as you see from the third column, which starts with short name in English, geographical name, the order is like this. It's Belgium, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Denmark, Germany, Estonia, Ireland, Greece, Spain, France, Croatia, and everything like that. But if you go to the first column on the left, that's how it is written in their own countries. And we have to respect this way of writing things. And this is the order also in which the flags of the European Union member states are placed. You have been to the Parliament, you probably did not know about this, but you go to the Council, you will see. If you take this list with you this afternoon to the Council, you will start seeing it's in this order they have put the flags. So we use, like other international organizations, the alphabetical order, but it's a different, altogether alphabetical order. And this is not an easy thing to do, and you keep on making mistakes if you don't have this list on your pocket. Yeah, that's what I said about this third column. This is finally the order in which countries are placed, but if you look to the first column there, you don't understand that. You have to have an English order. The protocol order of the member states flags also follow the alphabetical order of the member countries in their original languages. The EU flag should be placed after the member states' flags. I've already mentioned it, although it's not always the case. So if you go to the Council this afternoon, you will see that it's right in front. And if you go to the European Parliament in Strasbourg, it's the first flag they have put. They have changed now the order.
Protests?
They're protesting somehow about something. Okay, there is nothing else. You see, these are more examples in which the European Union flag comes first, and then Belgium, Bulgaria, and the others. And here it's the same thing. It's the European Union flag, Belgium, and Bulgaria. That order there.
As a flag order, it's start from the right to left or from
it's the same thing. You can go in different directions. It's as they. It's more easy for them to do. Normally, it's from left to right.
From left to right?
Yeah, normally it's from left to right. Okay, and we also have, to complicate matters, 24 official languages, although on a daily basis we only use 3. We have decided to keep the 3 because it would be impossible if we all start speaking a different language to each other in the commission or in the council. Nobody would understand anything. And but when there are important meetings, like for example meetings with heads of state and government, the 24 languages members are used, and of course there are interpretation for this. I have come to the end. So, are there any questions that this matters? So you know that the important thing is that the president starts with the president of the European Parliament, the president of the Council, president of the Commission, and goes like that. And for the flags, we follow this alphabetical order, which is, if you don't have a copy of that, I bet you will never ever try it, you know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you to you. Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And enjoy your visit to the council this afternoon.
So now we are going to have lunch break, and we have the visits at 2 o'clock, but we have to stay there at 1:40 to go through the security control and so on. So